Pi Day is coming up March 14th, Tuesday, 6:30, Metagames. Have you played Tiletum yet? Or have you heard about it? Want to win a copy for yourself? Join us with Moon City Con crew. All eligible badge holders from the Standard, Family Pass, and VIP passes will be eligible, but must have their badge purchased by March 13th to be entered. Join us for pies and games. You do not need to be present to be entered, but you do need to have your badge. But come on out. There'll be pies, there'll be games. What else could you want? We'll see you at Metagames, March 14th. The 417 Gamers is a group of board, tabletop, and card gamers in the 417 area code. This is the podcast. Welcome to the 417 Gamer Podcast, Episode 5, Expansion Edition. Ben and Leandra will be back on. We'll discuss our favorite games that play two players. This is 8 through 14. We did 1 through 7 the last time. This is 8 through 14. In addition, back in December, we asked the 417 Gamers what their favorite games were. They all sent a list from 1 to 10. We weighted them. We did all of the mathing, we put up the list, and we revealed it basically from January through the first week of February. And we're dropping the audio from those released YouTube videos and putting them on this podcast. So, without further ado, welcome to the 417 Gamer Podcast, expansion number 5. The best games in the 417 is brought to you by Moon City Con. Moon City Con is Springfield's premier board gaming convention, taking place June 9th through the 11th at the Hilton Garden Inn Hotel on the south side of Springfield, Missouri. For tickets, go to mooncitycon.com. We will be revealing the best games in the 417 over the next few weeks. Starting tomorrow, we will reveal the 24th spot and proceed revealing games until we find out what game was voted number 1 by the 417 Gamers. Below, you will see games that appear that did not quite make the final cut list, but still deserve a mention. We open submissions for games for the top 10 gamers in the 417 area on December 7th and close submissions on January 8th. Each submission of top 10 games was scored 10 points for a number 1 vote, down to 1 point for a number 10. Additionally, an extra point was awarded for each list the game appeared upon. So for all the games that are currently crawling by, they were the number 10 on most people's lists, but only appeared the one time, gaining 2 points in total. We had 34 lists submitted and 185 unique games. We had games that started with almost every letter in the alphabet except for the letter X. We hope you enjoy the list reveal as we go forward. If the games below look interesting to you, and you're in the 417 area, head over to the Facebook page at facebook.com/417gamers. Join the 417 Gamer group and see if somebody would like to play. A lot of times, we're dying to play the games that are in our top 10. We also want to thank Moon City Con for being our sponsor. Moon City Con is Springfield's premier board gaming convention. You'll see a lot of these games played at Moon City Con. In the number 20 slot, Harry Potter Hogwarts Battle. Designed by Joan Van Watering and published by the Op. According to the Op, you play as your favorite characters and defend the wizarding world from the evil forces. Enhance your abilities as you build your deck with over 140 cards. 7 successive game adventures offer increasing difficulty as you battle villains and unlock new abilities, secrets, and challenges. Also included are 4 Hogwarts house dice, game board, over 50 chip pieces, and sorting cards to keep everything organized. Harry Potter Hogwarts Battle was published in 2016. It appeared on 3 lists and garnered 27 points. And just because we're being generous, we're going to give you one more. Let's go on to number 19. In the 19th slot is Carcassonne. Designed by Klaus-Jürgen Werde, published by Hansheim Gluck, and distributed in the U.S. by Z-Man Games. Inspired by the medieval fortress in southern France of the same name, Carcassonne is a tile-laying game in which players fill the countryside around the fortified city. Players choose from tiles that depict cities, roads, monasteries, and fields. Each new tile place creates an ever-expanding board on which the players can then add their followers. Players score points by having followers on features as they've completed. The player who makes the most strategic placements of tiles and followers will score the most points and win the game. Carcassonne is the game famous for popularizing the meeple. So if you see the little wooden guy, think of Carcassonne. Carcassonne was published in the year 2000. It appeared on 4 lists and gained 30 points. One of the games that tied for number 17. At the number 17 spot, we have Great Western Trail, designed by Alexander Pfister, published by Eggertspiel. The first edition was distributed in the U.S. by Stronghold Games, and the new second edition is currently being distributed by Capstone Games. Published in 2016, here's a little flavor from the publisher. America in the 19th century. You're a rancher and repeatedly herd your cattle from Texas to Kansas City, where you send them off by train. This earns you money and victory points. Needless to say, each time you arrive in Kansas City, you want to have the most valuable cattle in tow. However, the Great Western Trail not only requires that you keep herd in good shape, but also wisely use the various buildings along the trail. Also, it might be a good idea to hire capable staff. Cowboys to improve your herd, craftsmen to build your very own buildings, or engineers for the important railroad line. If you cleverly manage your herd and navigate the opportunities and pitfalls of the Great Western Trail, you will surely gain the most victory points and win the game. Great Western Trail is a pool building, hand management, set collection, track movement game. That's a mouthful. As the flavor indicates from the publisher, you take your little cowboy along the path of the game board, and eventually you end your journey in Kansas City. Once in Kansas City, the variation of cattle breeds and maximizing the value of cattle cards in your hand will dictate how profitable your journey was each time you enter Kansas City on the Great Western Trail. Whoever has the most points at the end of the game wins. Great Western Trail appeared on 4 lists and earned 31 points in the 417 Gamers. Let's go on to the second. Tied for 17th. Everdale. Designed by James A. Wilson, published by Starling Games, published in 2018. Here's a little flavor from the publisher. Discover Everdale. Use resources to build a village of critters and constructions in this woodland game. From Everfrost to Bellsong, many a peaceful year has passed in Everdale. But the time has come for new territories to be settled and new cities to be established. You will be the leader of a group of critters intent on just such a task. There are buildings to construct, lively critters to meet, and events to host. You will have a busy year ahead of you. Will the sun shine brightest on your city before the winter moon rises? Over 250,000 copies of Everdale have been sold to date. Everdale is a worker placement, hand, and resource management game. On a turn, you will either place one of your animeeples out onto the board to collect resources, draft cards, or claim rewards, or, alternatively, instead you may be playing an animeeple. Instead of playing an animeeple, you'll be playing a card into your town tableau by paying its cost. The player that has created the city worth the most points will win the game. Everdale collected 31 points and appeared on 4 lists. Let's go on to the 15th spot. Tied at 15th, Wingspan. Designed by Elizabeth Hardgrave, published by Stonemaier Games in 2019. Here's some flavor from the publisher. Wingspan is a competitive, medium-weight, card-driven, engine-building board game from designer Elizabeth Hardgrave and Stonemaier Games. It is the 2019 winner of the prestigious Kinderspiel des Jahres Award. You are bird enthusiasts, researchers, birdwatchers, ornithologists, and collectors, seeking to discover and attract the best birds to your network of wildlife preserves. Each bird extends a chain of powerful combinations in one of your habitats. These habitats focus on key areas of growth. Gain food tokens via custom dice in a bird feeder. Lay eggs using egg miniatures in a variety of colors. Draw from hundreds of unique cards and play them. The winner is the player with the most points after 4 rounds. Wingspan garnered 32 points off of 5 lists from the 417 Gamers. That was what tied at 15. If you want to see the other game, stay tuned next Monday and we'll reveal that. Before we get out of here, we want to say thank you to Moon City Con as our sponsor. They are looking for your input for prizes this year. If you'd like to help them select the prizes for their play to win and door prize pool, go over to their Facebook page at facebook.com/MoonCityCon or leave some comments below and we'll forward along your responses to them. The best games in the 417 is brought to you by Moon City Con. Go over to mooncitycon.com to get your badges. They have already scheduled their pitch card tournament, their poker tournament, a thing called Pitch Force, Battling Tops, and soon to be scheduled Ben's Magic Night. First people to get badges have first shot at the events. And if you already have a badge, feel more than welcome to start scheduling your events. Get your badges now at mooncity.com. Welcome back to the best games in the 417. Last week we went through 20 through 15-ish. We ended on Wingspan that tied for 15th. Here's the other game that tied for 15th. 15. Catan. Designed by Klaus Teuber. Published by Asmodee Games. Published in 1995. From the publisher. Catan. Picture yourself in an era of discoveries. After a long voyage of great deprivation, your ships have finally arrived to the coast of an uncharted island. Its name shall be Catan. But you are not the only discoverer. Other fearless seafarers have also landed on the shores of Catan. The race to settle the island has begun. Catan is a resource management, negotiation, and set collection game. On a player's turn, they will roll the dice, add them together to activate areas on the board. Those areas will produce resources for those that have settlements and cities on the board at those locations. Then the player may trade their resources to other players and then build settlements, cities, roads, or try and get development cards. The first player to get 10 points wins the game. Catan appeared on 4 lists in the 417 and garnered 32 points. Catan is one of the modern classics that we talk about, but honestly, it was one of the 2 huge gaming impacts in the 90s that we still feel today. Number 14, Dominion. Designed by Donald X. Vaccarino, published by Rio Grande Games, and published in the year 2008. Here's an overview from Rio Grande Games. Dominion is the game that started a new genre, deck building. Winner of the Spiel des Jahres in 2008 and many, many other awards, Dominion has established itself a true classic. With more than a dozen expansions currently available, players will always be able to find new challenges. The game idea. You are a monarch, like your parents before you, a ruler of a small, pleasant kingdom of rivers and evergreens. Unlike your parents, however, you have hopes, dreams. You want a bigger kingdom, more pleasant, with more rivers, and a wider variety of trees. You want a dominion. In all directions lie fiefs, freeholds, and feodoms. All are small bits of land controlled by petty lords and verging on anarchy. You will bring civilization to these people, uniting them under your banner. But wait, it must be something in the air. Several other monarchs have had the same exact idea. You must race to get as much of the unclaimed land as possible, fending them off along the way. To do this, you will hire minions, construct buildings, spruce up your castle, and fill the coffers of your treasury. Your parents wouldn't be proud, but your grandparents on your mother's side, they'd be delighted. Dominion earned 33 points on 4 lists. And yes, this popularized deck building. So many games owe their life to Dominion. I personally have a love-hate relationship with the deck building genre myself. I like a couple games. It took me a while to come around, I'll be honest. But yes, that is Dominion at number 14. Number 13, Brass. Designed by Martin Wallace, currently published by Roxley Games. Brass originally came out in 2007. Brass is Martin Wallace's original masterpiece, the famous Industrial Revolution strategy game, according to Roxley Games. Brass Lancashire tells the story of competing entrepreneurs in Lancashire and the surrounding area during England's Industrial Revolution between the years of 1770 and 1870. Brass Lancashire is a competitive, heavyweight hand management, network building economic game. Brass is a very, very mean, heavy game, and it is loved in our game group. And there's Brass Lancashire, and there's Brass Birmingham. And there's a little contention on which one's better in the group, but all the points in this one went to Brass, and everybody rejoiced. No, they didn't. It's a Wallace game. But Brass earned 36 points on 5 lists. That is Brass at number 13. Three-way tie for number 10, so without further ado, let's look at the first one. Number 10, Splendor. Splendor was published in 2014, designed by Marc-Andre, and published by Space Cowboys. Here's a description from the Asmodee website. Make a name for yourself in the prestigious and lucrative jewelry business of Renaissance Europe in Splendor, the award-winning game of gems. First, collect raw gems to fund the development of mines throughout the world. Then acquire the means to transport them, artisans to shape them, and finally a storefront where you can sell your polished jewels. If you produce exactly the right jewelry, a powerful noble may become your patron. But even then, they won't just hand you victory. The player whose business earns the most prestige wins. Deceptively simple, Splendor involves quick strategic thinking and intense competition. Splendor appeared on 5 lists and earned 37 points. And I will always have Splendor in the top of my list. It is one of my most successful gateway games. It helped me pull many a friend and family member down the rabbit hole of the strategic board games. That was the first game tied at number 10 in Splendor. Azul. Azul is designed by Michael Kiesling, published by Next Move and Plan B Games out of Asmodee. It was published first in 2017 from the publisher. Build a mosaic fit for a monarch. Azul is a tile placement game in which players compete for the highest score by claiming tiles and arranging them on their boards to score points. Extra points are on offer for collecting sets of the same color of tile or for creating particular patterns, while there are penalties for taking tiles that you're unable to use. But every tile that you claim affects what your rivals can take next. You will have to make choices that help you without helping them too much. Azul garnered 37 points off of 6 lists. Stay tuned tomorrow for the next game in our series of the best games in the 417. Our sponsor, Moon City Con, would like to thank Whirligig Games. Whirligig has provided a copy of John Company's 2nd edition and PAX Premier 2nd edition for Moon City Con. If you'd like to have a chance to walk away with these games, get a ticket to Moon City Con at the standard level or better. They can't wait to see you guys gaming at this year's Moon City Con. There'll be a pitch card tournament, battling tops, pitch force, poker tournament, magic night, and so much more. For tickets, go over to mooncitycon.com. Welcome back to the Pickled Tentacle, the chilled edition.
Easy for you to say.
Yeah.
The chilled edition.
Yeah. We're in the previous episode 5, we talked about our top 7 games we like to play at 2 players. We're looking at 8 through 14, the next little section of the list. For us, Andrea and I, we like Cascadia at number 14. Cascadia is published by AEG Games. It's got a tile laying, and you're building a park, a nature preserve, where you're grabbing elk, bears, hawks, salmon, and each time you're grabbing an animal and you're grabbing a tile. And as you build it, the tile has different artwork on it, so you're matching up grasslands, wetlands, mountainous ranges, fields, and then you're putting your animals on tiles where their symbol matches the thing. At the end of the game, there are scoring cards that dictate how you can score the animals. Like maybe you have the red-tailed hawk, which are solitary hunters, so he does not want to be directly next to any other hawks. He scores just fine as long as he's alone, but if he touches another one, he negates his points. Maybe you're scoring these salmon that are in runs. As long as they have a continuous run to where they don't branch off, they score kind of incrementally. The more you have in a run, the more they score. Maybe you have the bears that score in pairs, the mama and the cub. For every pair of bears, they score. The elk, maybe you have the elk in a line, a straight line. But there's like 4 or 5 variants to each of the animals. So you can shuffle it up and deal out a card for each, and then play.
It's nice because it's different every time we play, depending on what the scoring cards turn up, you know.
Yeah, you pull out some of the tiles depending on player count, but that's all the setup you have to worry about. It's pretty easy to play. It's pretty easy to teach. And it's something nice to keep in our heads whenever we want to play with family, because it's very much a gateway-style family weight game.
That was my impression of it. I played it once at Moon City. Did you play it, babe?
No.
You didn't play it there? I thought you did, but I played one game of it. It was one of the more popular games, I think, that we had there, because it is so fast and easy to teach. And I think those kind of games are really good for playing wins. But it's one of those where I really liked it. I wouldn't have thought, now playing it, I think I played it with 4 players, so I don't think I would have thought of it as a go-to 2-player game. But it is such a fast setup and everything that I can see how that would, and if it scales well, then I could see that. But it was just one of those games where I didn't pick it up, and I have never thought of it since. So it's one of those that I don't know. It just didn't grab me. But it was very, very elegant design. I felt like, and the fact that I only saw that one way that each tile scored, and the fact that it is random like that. That is pretty cool. That might not be a bad one for me.
So it's at our 14. So it's not the top of the list, but we absolutely look at that, and it's something we'd both willing to be playing.
Yeah. And I think something you touched on earlier, in that after you've had a hard day at work and you just want to find a quick and easy game to unwind, not every time do you want to get into a 2-hour game of Terraforming Mars. Sometimes let's just a quick, easy game where we can just zone out and just relax.
Where there's some interesting choices, but not where you have to hurt your head to get there.
Not brain burning. And if I remember, the 4-player game I played only took like 20 minutes. So it was very fast.
It's closer to like 30,
Maybe
45. But at 2-player, it is about 20 minutes.
Yeah.
Because you take out so many tiles for the 2-player variant.
So very quick playing, That's a good pick.
Ben, your guys' is number 14.
Okay, this is another one of Leandra's favorites. Silver. Now there's a bunch of different versions of it. We have the Silver Bullet version, I believe. Yeah, we have Silver Bullet, and I believe Leandra's sister has every version. There's Silver Coin. There's Silver. I don't know. They all work off the same basic mechanics. It is a memory game, which is something that I didn't think I liked at all as a part of a game mechanic. But this works in just the sweet spot of it, where you're playing with face down cards. You can turn them over. You can peek at them in some instances, but sometimes you're trying to deduce what card you have. So you're dealt a hand of face down cards, and through using abilities and powers on cards that you're going to be picking through the rest of the game, you're going to be trying to get 0 points left in your board. So you're going to be trying to swap out some things, and so the lowest score is going to win the game. So, and there's some tricks up your sleeve where you can mess with your other opponent's cards, swap cards, and things like that. So you're throughout the game trying to deduce what you have, trying to deduce what they have, and try to pick the right cards to put in your thing. So at the end of the game, however many rounds you play, then you're going to reveal all your cards and see who has the lowest score. And so that memory aspect is interesting because the game couldn't work without it. But it's a lot to keep in your head. Otherwise, a very simple game. If this was playing this out of your hand like that, it goes into that.
It's a whole
it goes into that. It becomes more like Red Rising or something like that, or at Fantasy Realms feel where you're just trying to combo everything out. But in this way, it's like I'm just trying to remember and deduce just enough to get a lower score, or to make sure that I get this big card to someone else. You're trying to manipulate the game in that way instead of so much comboing or anything like that. So I think it's very cool, and there's each one has several different card types that you can play with special abilities. So you can take some in, play with like some certain point, play with zombies, and at a certain point, you know, we play with werewolves in certain sets. And as you get different sets, you can mix and match these cards for different power sets. So if there's something that's going on with this one type of card that you don't like, you just don't ever have to use that.
Yeah.
And you've got something else to put in there. And the more sets you have, the more options like that you have. So it's just a good little filler game that, you know, we like to play. And it's one of those where if you play it, you're going to play it 2 or 3 times in a row.
I think in my world, it's in my brain, is it a game we can play on the bar, or is it a game that we have to break out the pool table? Like that's a whole different kind of game, you know, like, and that's a bar top table.
Yeah.
Bar top
game, which is where we're going to go for a lot of those. When we're talking about those quick end of day gaming, you know, things like how long does it take to set up and how big of a footprint does it have, you know?
What about you guys?
Number 13, Andrea, what is our number 13?
Savannah Park. It's another
Building a park
tile laying game. I have a theme of games. You like the witchy, you know, kind of games. I like the more animal, sciencey, zoo type games. I really enjoy it. It's also a puzzle tile laying game. As many times as we've played it, I don't still feel like that I've gotten the best possible score out of it that I could get. Because you put down your animal tiles, and then there are brush fires, and you're trying to save the animals, like all the two flame fires by the 2 animals. The animals will run away, so you have to group them together, and you also have to get them by water holes, and the more, like, if you have 1 elephant by 1 watering hole, it's 1 point, but if you have 3 elephants by 2 watering holes, it's 6 points. So it's a good, I don't know, I like the puzzle aspect of it, and it's quick and easy. We get done like 20 minutes, like we talked about.
It's in Capstone's family games. Capstone's usually known for more of their deep Euros, and now they're train games. But this one, you've got a Savannah Park that you're working on. You have a 1, a 2, and a 3 fire, and each of your tiles have animals on there: giraffe, elephant, rhino, gazelle, and ostrich. And as you're going through, you're going to pick up a tile, and it has to go somewhere else on your board and flip over. And then every one of your tiles will flip over. But it's the active player that decides what tile everybody's moving at the same time.
Okay.
So I'll pick up the rhino and the ostrich. Everybody has to pick up the rhino and ostrich and put it in some other position. At the end of the game, you get groupings of your best herd of each animal. So whatever your best group of ostriches multiplied by how many watering holes they have on their art, that's your score for ostriches. Okay. And you do one for each of the 8 types of animals. And then, but, like she said, if you have a single solitary animal that is next to the single brush fire, that animal runs away. But you can put him by the 3 or the 2 fire, and he's fine. So there's that the puzzle aspect, but it's also the timing aspect. I don't want to move that yet. And then the person goes, we're moving the lone ostrich. You're like, no, he's not ready.
Have you ever, that reminds me of Fast Sloths. Have you ever tried that?
That's a fun game.
You're right up your alley as far as the
be.
theme that you're talking about. It's a little less Euro-y. It's a route building game, sort of, but it's like that. So there's different animals that come out, and you're trying to hit certain spots on the board. We get one animal from here to here, and then but they all move in different ways. And so if I pick this turn, we're moving the eagles, and everybody has an eagle, and the eagle moves in a certain way. And if I get the eagle and I play the eagle card, then I can move my eagle, and then you can move your eagle as well. And so it's this idea of like, am I better positioned to move this animal now? And each animal moves in a different way. So like the eagle can go from one spot to any other spot, but then like the alligator can only move through from water to water spaces. And they all have, and so it's very cool like that. So you're trying to make out the best route you're doing, but you're also looking at where everybody else's animals are. Are they closer to getting that spot faster than I am? And stuff like that.
That was a cute game.
That was really fun.
We might have to borrow it.
And it's got a bunch of different, it's got variability like that, where there's a bunch of different animals, and you only play with like 6 of them each game or whatever.
Yeah.
So you have potential like 16 different ones, I think. So you mix and match them and stuff. But
Leandra?
it sounded similar.
Yes, sir.
What is your number 13?
I think these are in the wrong order.
That's fine.
Okay.
Just, what's our third one?
Oh.
Oh no, our second one.
Second
Sorry.
one. Okay, so I think this is in the wrong order, but it's okay. Magic.
Yay!
Magic Commander.
Yeah.
We play 2-player Magic Commander all of the time.
Yeah, and we play it straight up like regular Commander. Commander is the multiplayer version of Magic, where generally Magic is a 1v1 game. Commander is designed to be played with 4
This
to
would be
5.
Ben's number 1 top game.
Right now, and I never would have dreamed that I would have
Okay.
gotten into Magic, but it does tick all of my OCD and collector completionist tendencies and
Yeah.
stuff. And I think it's a great game design. Also, when it's all said and done,
We don't share bank accounts.
it is the most. It's been proven in studies. I believe from Harvard that it's the most complex game ever designed because of the number of possibilities
yeah.
of decks that can be built. Surpassing Go and chess and things like that used to be in that slot. But its biggest thing is that it's crack. It's designed to make you want to buy more of
We
it.
get at least 2 to 3 envelopes with single cards in them delivered to our house every day.
Yep. But here's what's fun about it. So here's what's fun. Here's why I would
All that stuff, not fun. Here's the fun part.
Well, I mean, that's fun for me to get those envelopes, but I would have never gotten into Magic if the Commander format didn't exist. I don't think I would have ever gotten introduced to it in a way that I enjoyed. I did not like 1v1, basically take that, slap your opponent down until somebody dies. Commander is not like that. It's a singleton 100 card deck format where every card is different, where in most Magic decks you can have 4 of the same card, which means that your decks become very, very fine-tuned in regular Magic, where it's just like very boring. You're playing a strategy. It's like, well, I'm going to have 4 of these. I'm going to play 4 of these on you, and then I'm going to play 4 of these. And I'm going to play 4 of these. Whereas Commander is about building a deck where you're trying to synergize between 100 cards. You're going to likely not see 3/4 of your cards in any particular game. So you want to build a deck to where every card in your deck you're happy to see, which is much harder than doing that in a 60-card deck. And then you have the added thing of one of my favorite parts of any board game experience is the table talk, camaraderie, diplomacy that happens. Commander is built on diplomacy, and you can build decks completely about that, where your only way you're going to win is if you direct other people to do things because of what your deck is doing. And I always like games like that. I like games with negotiation, diplomacy, where you can bluff a little bit. Commander has all of that. So you've got this time-tested game system in Magic the Gathering. Then you combine it with the best parts of tabletop board gaming as a whole, which is group, everybody razzing each other, everyone having a little bit of table talk, everything that your opponent does, everybody's turn matters to your turn. Now in 2-player, which is what we're talking about now, all that goes out the window because I can't really build a deck that has anything to do with multiplayer part of it. I have to more consider we are just smacking each other back and forth. But I can't do it with just the 4 most powerful cards in the world, 4 times in a row, and then all your life's gone. So it's still interesting. There is still, and it plays fast. That's the other thing. A game of Commander can take 2 hours,
And Olivia
But
and
a
I are
2-player
back
game,
together.
you're 20 minutes. Yeah, you're 20 minutes. And if you have a deck with a theme that you like, or just some mechanics that are fun, it's a good little 20-minute thing. And usually you'll play 1 or 2 games in a row. And it fits that slot of easy to set up. Like, you just pull the deck out of a box and you're playing the game,
Right.
I'm sure you guys know this about Ben, but he likes to pimp out all of his games, right? That's what he does. And so when I was divorcing Olivia, and he was trying to make her better, he went and bought me an Olivia mat. So he's like, well, now you have to play her again because I bought you a mat and it matches. And then he bought her the box with her cards is her design. Like he just completely went. He was like, I have all this stuff now. You have to make up with Olivia. You have to play her again.
Got her new clothes.
Got her new clothes.
Yeah, you gotta. She had a glow up. Olivia had a little glow up. But that's Magic, and I know.
She's had some work.
Yeah.
It's a verboten topic in board gaming to talk about Magic the Gathering. Never the twain shall meet. I disagree with that. I kind of always disagreed with that
Until you
idea.
did it.
No, I disagreed with us like segregating from them as much as we always did. I see why. I know why. The sheer amount of butt cracks are just amazing.
It's not just
in
the butt
Magic
cracks.
Nights,
It's the smell at
It's the
times
yeah,
too.
smell. It is
smell
the
and butt cracks
smell.
can be a lot. But
There's a reason why metagames at their old location, the no BO was like one of the top 3 of the 12 rules they had for the
true.
shop.
But the Commander format has classed up the Magic player, their caliber a little
So the
bit.
people who don't shower, or
It
they,
does-
do they not play Commander?
Yeah, not as much. It's a crossover between board games a lot
That's
more.
why we joked about one of the years that game that we needed to rebrand like the Vapor Rub as like Gamers Rub.
Yeah.
Oh God.
Because if you while
Oh,
you were in
yeah.
the gaming hall, you were desensitized to what was there. But if you left to go get food, when you came back, you're like,
Woo!
Oh Lordy.
yeah, cosplayers, magicers, LARPers. Woo!
Yeah. There is an odor. But
Most board gamers come home from work, they shower, and then they go to game night. Magic people crawl out of wherever they were. I kind of feel like, you know the scene in Lord of the Rings where they're making the orcs?
Yeah.
That's where Magic players
Oh
come
my
from.
gosh.
Rise! Go forth and play the magic!
so
He's putting us in that category.
yeah, I
That's all
know. He's
thanks
calling
to
us
you.
Uruk-hai. Well, that's the
I
difference.
think he kind of like
That's the Commander players are like the Uruk-hai. They're
kidnapped
the
you, and now you're like, I'm an orc now. I was told I was an orc.
no, they're
He
the
is not ears.
yeah. I'm like, what's the dude in
Hummus
the
are for breakfast.
what's the elf that crossed over to from the Rings of Power? That's me. I started out as pure, and now I've been pulled to the dark side.
Yeah,
But,
you have. It's okay.
But that's it. That's Magic. We'll
That's your number 13 magic.
never
Yeah.
talk about it again.
Fair enough. Number 12, we've got My City. So one of our favorite two-player only games is Patchwork. It's that Tetris, polyomino, putting stuff on your board. My City matches that with like a flip and fill game. So My City, you've got a board and you've got your pieces that are kind of buildings that you're putting in My City. You flip over a card. That's what everybody has to put. You have to start at the little river that starts in the middle of the board. From then on, every other building that comes out has to touch one of the pieces that was already on there. You get your points for your best grouping of yellow buildings, your best grouping of red buildings, best grouping of blue buildings. And then if your church has all 3 other colors touching it, you get points for it. And then you usually have a well in the middle of your board. If your well is completely surrounded but not covered up, it's worth points. And then you lose points for every open space and any rocks that are showing that you didn't build over. It's pretty easy to score. It's pretty fun. The base way to play is not that hard of a teach. It's when you're playing the legacy game that every time you play, there's a new wrinkle that's thrown in there. But My City, this is by Reiner Knizia. This is by Cosmos Games. It came out, that first publishing went out. People bought it, but that was right when they were having issues on supply and trying to get it back out. Really, really fun game.
It sounds a lot like Tiny Towns a little bit as
A
you
little
would
bit.
explain it. Kind of
Patchwork with Tiny Towns.
Yeah,
kinda.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's interesting, and I like the legacy idea of it. And it's one of those that, yeah, you like you're saying, I heard about it and then it was nowhere to be found, and now it's like Barnes and Noble has it. I mean, everywhere's got it now. So yeah, that's one I would like to actually try.
Ben, your guys' number 12.
Okay, so this one is one we haven't played in a while, but there's a reason for it, and we need to get back to it. So it's
Okay.
Near and Far by Ryan Laukett and Red Raven Games. We are big fans of them as a whole, him as a designer, him as an artist.
Yeah, he does everything. He does
does
the
it all.
art, he does the design, he does the publishing.
And his wife is
co-op.
now, part of the company too. And so we've liked, let's see, what do we got here in that series? Started with Above and Below, right?
Yeah.
Above
So-
and Below, Near and Far, and then
Now or
Never.
Never is the third one. So Above and Below is more of a solitaire, not solitaire, but it's a more of a traditional worker placement-y kind of game had this story element built in, right? A storybook that you could read out of as you did certain actions when you went to the underground part. you'd kind of adventure into caves. Well, Near and Far takes that idea and really just blew that idea up. So Near and Far has this very epic campaign that you can play through, and you can do it competitively or co-op. We decided to do co-op.
It's fun.
And we've basically, the co-op was very easy to win, so we started bumping up. There's a way to tweak the difficulty, and we had to kind of turn that up to 10 to make it challenging after the first few games. But what's really cool is you're going through this storybook. So the board is a big book that flips through a la, stuffed fables and things like that. But so each map is different. Each map will have certain areas you can go to. Each area is tied to either getting resources, and then there are certain ones that are going into these mines. And when you go into these mines, you're looking for amber and other resources, and you'll go and you'll read a story based on where you entered the mine, and then you'll make decisions based on your character's stats. Basically, you can upgrade your character by getting equipment and mounts, so you can move across the board faster. And when you're playing at co-op, what you're trying to do is reach a certain point total each turn, and all the while you're kind of fighting against an AI villain that's trying to score points along the way too. Otherwise, it's just who has the most points wins. And you can play the whole campaign with multiplayers up to 4 people. There's also a solo mode. But it's just the best distillation so far of that storybook type of game that I've played, because it's really epic. You feel like you're really traveling throughout a land. And but I kind of wish we had played it competitively. What do you think, babe?
It was quite easy co-op. So I mean that's the only downside to it with co-op is we did have to adjust because we're winning. We're just easy winning. Like this isn't,
And I believe that I'm the type of guy nowadays where I don't play very many video games, but when I do, I am not opposed to playing them on easy mode because I want to see the story and I don't want to slog through a game.
I don't have the time that I used to.
I'm there to see the story. I want to get my money's worth out of this game. So I kind of felt like that was good, but it was getting to the point where it was almost like you want to see the story unfold, but it's like this is too easy. Like we're
That's what I had to do with God of War.
Game.
I used to playing God of War hard and just getting through it. The Norse one that came out, I started playing it hard. I'm like, I don't have time to learn the patterns and watch the thing.
Just put it on easy mode, man.
I put it on normal and got so far. I'm like, this is still taking too long. Easy.
I've taken to doing that with video games because I'm in it for the story. I want to see every level. I don't want to slog through.
Well, with God of War, that's because I have so much tied to the franchise.
Yep.
I know the previous stories. I've played through all the other ones. Now I want to get through it. So But yeah, understood.
Same thing. But so Ryan, now the new one, Near and Far, or Now or Never, is a completely different thing. It has the story elements and stuff, but it is much more of a puzzly Euro style game. So he's very good at iterating on not reinventing the wheel of his games, but just iterating on ideas that he's already done and kind of streamlining them. Yeah. And I think he's getting better and better at that. So.
Right. Yeah, that sounds like something we would like.
It's fun.
Brings us to number 11. Andrea, what is our number 11?
Our number 11 is Classic Azul. We had talked about it earlier. So many iterations of Azul. We like them all. Sometimes I'm in the mood for Queen's Garden, but because it can be so complicated, sometimes just regular Azul, quick. We only got, just a few minutes and we want to play something quick, we grab it. I like having it around because when some of our family comes over, it's a good one to always have on the shelf, a lighter family weight game. But I have not played it so many times yet that I'm tired of it. I still enjoy it. I still don't feel like I've mastered it to the highest level I possibly can. And it's a quick and easy de-stress game for us.
And also, this is another one that if we're going to take it out to a future game night, we know it. Andrea will play it again to make sure she's got the rules because she likes to teach now too. Mm-hmm. It used to be that I was probably 99% the teacher at the table. But some of these gateway games, Andrea's played enough and she enjoys sharing, the games with people, and she's a good teacher that just make sure she's up on the rules, and then I'll stay quiet for a moment, which is hard for me sometimes, and she will teach the game.
I can't teach games. That is a skill in itself.
It
It
is.
is. And go you all who can do it. 'Cause
Yeah.
I can't.
I was like, I could teach Wingspan, and I got it all set up, and I was like, Rick.
I get calls from other states because
Right.
Lee's like, so we're playing this. What do we do? How many cards do we get? I'm like, you have the rule book. I don't have any idea.
No, I don't. Yeah, no. He literally,
I just
I'm in
make stuff up.
Connecticut. I'm wherever I am, Ben. I'm playing
Yeah.
this game. Help.
That's from Michael Kiesling. Michael Kiesling's also one of those designers that when I see his stuff, I pay
Yep.
attention to what's coming out.
Kramer and Kiesling, both of them. Now they do a lot more separately than they used to mainly design together, but I love all their games they've done together, and I like most of the stuff they've done separately.
Yeah.
Again, he's one of those that's a very abstract game, and he's known for these more traditional Euro games, but that one was probably one of his biggest hits and just a pure abstract,
Leandra, your guys is number 11.
7 Architects.
Seven Wonders Architects.
7 Wonder
I didn't
Architects.
write it all down,
You didn't,
so
and I read it
you're just
exactly the
reading
way
it.
you wrote it.
Seven Architects.
Seven Architects.
7
Best.
Wonder Architects.
Seven Wonders.
I love that game. That's so fun.
Yep.
And I didn't think we needed a lighter Seven Wonders until we played it. We played it at Cards and Stripes. They had a teaching event. Like, this is really
It
good.
is fun, and it's
is.
one that you never just want to play one game of it. You play it, and then you pass it. You
Yep.
get another
Yep.
civilization. You
Yep.
play it again. It's so fast. There's nothing to it. It couldn't be simpler, but there is just enough going on with that drafting from your opponent's thing or taking from your opponent's cards
Yeah.
that it does make you want to try a different civ for some reason. Even though they're almost identical, there's only one that really is much different than the others, which is the Egyptians, I think. But that having the cat token, it's just good enough to make you want it, and for someone to steal it from you immediately. Almost every time I get it, I'm like, I never get to use it because
Nope.
somebody takes it immediately. There's nothing to that game, but the thing is, it's replaced the regular Seven Wonders for us, because if we're going to play a 2-player version for the most part,
Yeah.
we'll play Seven Wonders Duel.
Yep.
And if I'm not busting Seven Wonders out, it's just too much game for what I want it to do.
I still like that draft. I still like that handing a hand of cards
to other people.
off to the other player.
Yeah.
And I like Civ games.
Yeah.
Do they have that on BGA? Seven
Yes.
Wonders?
Yes.
We
We have
should-
the app too.
We
have the
should
app
play
too.
that in BGA.
But yeah, we have the actual app of Seven Wonders. But it's just to me, it does everything I want Seven Wonders to do. It does it really fast, and it's super simple to teach. The one big thing about Seven Wonders is, especially if you play with architect or with expansions, then it can become a bit of a teach for what it is. It's not that difficult of a game, but everybody does have to know what's going on because otherwise you can't draft properly. You're at a real disadvantage unless you actually understand the game.
Closed draft. It's the Seven Wonders has the same problem that a Sushi Go or a Blood Rage has.
Yep.
If you have a newbie in there, it's closed draft. They don't know what they have in their hand.
Yep.
They could be handing the game to the person
Yep.
that they're drafting to.
So you have to really, really explain the game well in order for it to be a fair draft. In someone's first game. So,
Sure.
whereas
Alright.
Architects, you just let them rip.
Let her rip.
Number 10. Number 10 for us is Concordia. Concordia is my favorite game, hands down. At 2, you take out quite a few of the cards. It's a very streamlined game. I enjoy it at 2, but it's certain maps. You need the tighter maps, and out of the base game Concordia, I don't think the Italy map is tight enough for it to be a great game at 2 players. But once you get the Crete map or the
There's one in the Venus expansion that is for 2 players. That's the
yes,
one we played
yes,
with.
it
I can't
is
remember which one it is, but
Majorca,
yeah.
the
I think so,
island,
yeah.
the Balearic Island,
Yeah.
and then the Great Britain and Corsica. All 4 of those maps at 2 players is nice, tight, because you want whenever you play the the activation cards when you're activating the regions. It's more interesting when you're activating and getting resources for both of you. I find.
Yeah.
The big maps, if you start going off on either direction, there's no sense in you guys building on each other's regions until towards the end of the game.
Yeah.
And it slows down the game because you're not getting resources as quick, you're not putting out as many buildings as quick, and you're not buying as many cards as quick. So I like it at 2, but I prefer it at more, and that's why it's not in our top 7.
Yeah.
Andrea was willing to play Concordia a couple times at 2 players. She liked it okay. But I think we both like it better at 3 and 4.
I like it better than just okay at 2 because I have a 50-50 chance of winning. When we've got 4 players,
Yeah.
I'm probably going to be the lowest score.
Especially if Catherine and Rick are in it.
Yeah,
then-
oh,
And
right,
that's
yeah.
usually who
You're
we're
playing for
bringing
third
in.
place
If,
at that
if I
point.
plop this out on a Thursday night, you have your usual suspects
Yeah.
that are wanting to play.
Yep.
It's Catherine, it's Brian,
Yep.
it's Logan, it's Ethan.
Yeah.
It's a lot of the people that know the game pretty well.
Yeah.
That's the problem I had with Concordia as a whole. Is I really liked it when it first came out. We played it a lot, and then it got to be one of those games like Scythe or something where the gameplays just went up so significantly for some people to where I couldn't really compete playing with them anymore, because
Exactly.
when I would play it,
Exactly.
once a month or something, when they're playing it multiple times a week,
That's a
and
game
then it got
I
to that
would
point where
never
like
play with
I just
Catherine.
can't play that game with
Oh,
these people
yeah.
anymore.
Yeah, if you
know.
come in second, you've won.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, it's just like playing Scythe with Kyle and Catherine. It's like, well, it's just not happening.
Right.
But we really like it. We've played it with 2 since it got the Neptune or Venus expansion, and but then we played it at 3, I think, and was really a sweet spot for it right there. So
Yeah.
Next on the list for us,
Number 10.
number
Ben.
10 is Wonderlands War.
okay, this was your pick. Babe,
This
so-
is my pick. I love this game.
Yeah.
I love it so much. We played it first at 2-player, played it again at 2-player, played it at 3, played it at 4, back to 2.
So again, Wonderlands War is another thing that we talked before about Quacks and about Orleans. This is the newest game to come out with that bag building idea, and it combines a little bit of both. So it's got a little bit of everything going on. It's got a rondel card drafting. It's so a la Heaven and Ale. It's got the way you get resources in Heaven and Ale is how you get cards in this one. Then there's an area control portion. Then there's a bag building portion, and the bag building
just got it
portion
all.
has some of the Quacks push your luck built into
Yep.
it. So your area control portion is done by taking cards, and you're going to get special abilities and special Wonderlandians a la Blood Rage. So it's got that part.
Nice.
It's got Blood Rage area
And
control.
it's Alice in Wonderland.
It's got Quacks bag
Yeah.
building. It's got Heaven and Ale action selection. So it's like a cool mashup of those 3 with a really cool theme and awesome artwork and
artwork is
components.
amazing.
Like the miniatures are amazing. The artwork is amazing. It's a big old game. So
Yeah.
for 2 players, it breaks that rule of
Takes
it's
the
a lot of
whole
setup.
table.
Yeah.
Takes the whole table. Even at 2, it's still you still take some cards out, and the rounds do go faster. You could probably play a game in 45 minutes, whereas you're looking at an hour and a half, 2 hours with 4 or 5 players. But it still works just fine at 2. Even with area control, and that's the thing. Like area control generally doesn't work great at 2, but the way this one is done, it just it takes out some of the areas on the board, so you're only fighting over a few. And the way that this one works is in your area control stuff is you can keep pulling out of your bag. Your push your luck part of pulling your bag is you pull a thing out, and they'll have a number, and then it will also have, that's your strength that you're adding to your battle. But then they also have special abilities. Each tile has, like Quacks has a special ability as well, so that might allow you to do something else, like move one of your troops from somewhere else. But as long as you have troops there, then if you pull out a madness out of your bag, that's the push your luck part, then you have to remove a person from that spot. As long as you still have a person in that spot, you can keep drawing. So that's your push luck. But if at the end of the round, even if you lose, your people that are there stay there. So you can decide, well, this is not my turn. But next turn, it's going to be worth more. Next round, it's going to be worth more points to win the spot. So instead of pushing my luck and possibly pulling all my guys out and still losing, I'm just going to stop now, leave those guys here, leave that stuff in your bag. But then going mad, as it's always kind of bad, there's no real reward for it in Quacks by blowing up. In this one, there is a reward because it's how you refill your bag. So
you
there's
take all
going to be
your
times where
exhausted
you're...
chips.
Yeah, there's going to be times where you're going to want to, because everything you pull out of your bag gets exhausted, like in Orleans. There's going to be times where you want to go mad, even though you get a negative, but then you get to put everything back in your bag. So if you're going up for a battle in the next round and you're down to like 2 chips, you might be like, I got to pull this out so I can refill my bag when I know they're getting low. So maybe I lose this one, but I'm definitely gearing
Yeah.
up to win this next one.
And each character has its own powers and its own special abilities, and then the miniatures are amazing to look at. Like
Yeah.
the artworks, we've already said it.
It's just a very smooth.
If the
slick
first
game.
top 7 were my choice only, that would have been in my top 7 for sure as a 2-player game.
Sure.
Yeah.
I just don't. Again, it's one of those games, such a big production. I don't
It
think
is.
of it as a 2-player game, even though it works just fine at 2 players. It's just a lot of setup and stuff for 2 people.
Sure.
Understood.
All right.
Number 9, Andrea, what is our number 9?
That's pretty clever.
Yes.
We like to play it too. I know we've talked about the app for the phone. I find myself playing it a little more and more, maybe a little bit at work when it gets a little bit slow.
Which is probably why it hurts it just a tad and why it's not in our top 7.
Yeah.
Is because we will both be playing the solo version of the app on the couch while TV's going in the background.
Yeah.
I wish you could play
Instead
it.
of playing it 2-player out on the table.
And I don't know why you can't play multiplayer in the app. That would be so good
I
if you
think-
could,
Yeah.
but yeah.
I don't know. I don't know if you can or not. I was
You
going to say I
can't
don't
with
think
the-
you can, but I don't remember.
You can't with the phone app, but there may be like a Steam version or something you can. But it would be, it would, because I think it would kill the. I think they don't, because it would kill the sales of the game, because you really don't need to do the
You
roll and
know,
write thing when
yeah.
it
But the
does
app
it all
is still
for
like
you.
$6,
You know?
$5.
Yeah, that's true. But yeah, I don't know why you can't, because if you could, we'd probably never bust it out in
But
real
I've
life.
gotten
but we
way
do,
more
yeah.
than $6 out of that
Yeah.
app.
Yeah. But normally a roll and writes are just okay for me, but this one, I don't know, it really just hits home. I like the combination. I like deciding where to put. You have the wild dice. Do I want to put it here or here? You know, everything about it just really
It's
clicks
a
for me.
big thinker in such a little box.
Yeah, it really is.
And there's a lot of it that comes down to just randomness. You know, there's so much randomness, but it's about making the best that you can with the randomness. You know,
Right.
that's, I mean, most dice games, but more so than even like, what's the one that came before that, where it's just about the colors?
Knock 'em all?
No, even before that, I can't remember. But anyway, it's quicks, like quicks.
Right.
You know, it's like quicks on steroids. You know, and that's why I found that like introducing like your sister to quicks first and then bringing her into clever was perfect, because she got to where she really liked quicks, and then it's like, well, but that's so simple.
There's also Rolling America and Rolling Japan.
Yeah, I didn't
It's
like
rolling
those
and
as
writing,
much,
but it's got that number rule. Once you put a number in a
Yeah.
state, all the states surrounding it have to be within 1 digit
Yeah.
of that.
that one breaks my brain a little bit.
I like
Ooh,
that.
that
Yeah.
sounds like fun.
That one's interesting. And then
It's
there's
inexpensive. It's
Yeah.
often on the Amazon Flash sale for like $6-7.
Nice.
buy it, babe.
I don't buy
We like
games.
rolling rights a
You
lot.
buy
Like,
games.
I liked Rolling Rights, and then they came out with tons of them, and I cooled on them, and then there was a couple that started coming back out. Trails of Tucana, I really
Yep.
liked. Silver and Gold, I really liked. And then there was something this last year we played quite a bit of.
The pinball.
the pinball
Yeah,
ones.
Super Skill Arcade.
Pinball ones are
We've
fun.
got 3 of the 4.
Yeah. I've just got the one, but we've never played. I don't think I've played every single board in that one yet. So
Well, and on all of them, your first board is a good way to learn, but
Yep.
it's not the most interesting.
yep,
Like the very first game, the clown,
the clown one.
circus
Yeah, I
board
don't
game,
like
it's
that one as
fine.
much. I like the mining one in that one. That one.
We really like the Hacker,
Hacker. I haven't tried.
which
that
is
one.
like either the second or the third one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that's a good. It's a good. I like the production of that one. I like the dry erase idea on that, and how, that's. It's but again, that one's one that learning from the rule book is weird because of the way that you know. It's pretty simple to teach someone once you know it,
Yep.
but to try to learn it out of the rule book, I was like, so what happens to this thing? It just how's this ball
I
actually
understand
move?
how
And it's
it's
not
written and why it's written the way it is.
It's confusing though.
But it doesn't sound like the way I would teach it.
Yeah, and it's not how you teach it once you know. But yeah, I had trouble. People had trouble learning that at Moon City from the rule book, and then I'd go over and be like, "Yeah, just after this turn, it goes somewhere down here. It has to go down here." Like, oh, that's it.
Yeah,
They
has to
took
go
this
down
whole
to the lower
paragraph to
region
say
unless
that
you-
part? I'm like, yeah.
Unless you have something that keeps it up there,
Yep.
the ball has to go
Yep.
down to the next.
And that's
region.
pretty simple, but it's not written that way, and so.
Right.
But yeah, and I think roll and writes can get confusing in the rule book. Like
I have
teaching
Hadrian's
clever,
Wall on my
teaching clever out of the rule
Unplayed.
book also hard. You know, because that's a lot of stuff to try to explain.
I
and
don't know that I've ever read the rule book.
I did because I played it with
played
you.
the app.
I played it with you the first time, but I didn't. I mean, I knew what was going on in the game. I thought I got in it, but I couldn't have taught it. And then I bought it, and I'm reading the rule book, and I'm like, "Good Lord, there's a lot in here." Like, the
Screw
very
that, just
detailed.
play the
yeah,
app.
yeah, teaches you.
What's next?
Okay, what
Number
do we
9
got?
for you guys.
Number 9.
Okay, so this one is Villainous. All types. So this is a game I had very little hope for when it came out because most IP games and Disney games before those had not ever.
Till the last few years.
You know, yeah, they're getting better. But that particular company, Prospero Hall, has done a pretty good job with IP games and getting one of the biggest IPs in the world. So Leandra is a huge Disney Villainous, or Disney villains fan, obviously, like every white woman of a certain age. And
Excuse you.
no, that's it's a thing. We're at that age.
Maybe we won't make it to 22.
We're in that zeitgeist where the villains with Maleficent getting a movie and all that stuff. That's become a thing, right? So what a genius idea, because everybody's like, who wants to be Mickey Mouse in a board game? That doesn't sound appealing.
I want to be Ursula.
But being Ursula and being
Minnie's food fight.
it just doesn't sound exciting. But being the bad guys, okay. So, and they did a really good job, I think, in the first set, putting it out with a really good set of villains. So you had Maleficent, you had Ursula, you had Jafar. I mean, they had the hits, right? So that sold me on it. I really like. Oh, and Queen of Hearts, I believe. That sold me on it. I like the mechanics, simple but keeps everyone engaged. I like the fate system in there. How everyone has a different way to win the game. Had hot off the heels of Scythe, they used the idea of having your little your pawn move from one action space to the other. Very simplified. Then they just went crazy with it. Million expansions because it was a hit, and so you get all the ones. I was collecting them up until the last one that came out, where they're scraping the bottom of the barrel for Disney villains at this point.
Well, now they're starting to bring in the Marvel villains.
Now we got Marvel, so now I've got you've got the Marvel Villainous, but they learned their lesson. They don't give you all the good ones right off the bat. So the first one is
they give you one good one and 3 okay ones.
Yeah, they give you Thanos, and then they give you a bunch of people that nobody cares about. Nobody wants to play Killmonger, but I guess you have to play as Killmonger because. And then, from
they're
there,
not interchangeable, right? Like the Disney and Marvel.
Because the Disney and the Marvel work slightly differently. There's a central fate deck that everyone plays with in the Marvel because you're playing against all the same heroes, basically. But they really got me with the Marvel thing. Now they've gotten smart and they've started releasing single expansions instead of having to buy a box with 4 and you only want one of those. Like the new one that came out was Venom. Well, all I want is Venom. I don't. If you would have put out a big box, it would have been Venom, and it would have been like.
And they would have sold you Venom with a whole bunch of other crap.
Yeah, a bunch of crap that I didn't want. So I like the fact that now they've gotten smart and they're just doing Venom. But then they came out with this.
They've gotten smart.
They came out with a Star Wars one, and again, same thing. One good villain, Darth Vader. Everybody else is from extended universe and stuff. And it's like, well, where's my Boba Fett? No Boba Fett for you. That'll be later. You'll have to buy a whole other box with Boba Fett and nobody else. And so they really get you in that way. But it's one of those where they've got my collector's completionist type,
And I really like that one too because during COVID, my little sister's in Connecticut and my other sister's in Clever, and we were able to FaceTime, and they all have their own Villainous versions, and so we were able to play, FaceTime.
And it worked really well.
It worked really
well.
That's
if
cool.
everybody has the box, then it's very easy to just go, oh, I'm going to fate you. So you pull off your fate deck and see what it does, and then you do it, And it worked really well like that. But, I mean, that requires everyone to have a copy of the game. But the original Villainous box, everybody had that one. You know what I mean? So it worked really, really well. So
Well, that's fun.
So number 8, the game that just missed our top 7 games for us is Ticket to Ride. Now, specifically for us, it's the new smaller box versions, the New York, the London, the San Francisco.
Yeah.
We can break those out and play them in about 20 minutes.
Yeah.
So, and there's the same reason why I bring Ticket to Ride to the family to the holidays. It's a game I don't really have to think about hardly at all. The turns they're fun. Some of them are interesting. Some I don't care. But it's something to have a conversation. Talk about the day, let either side vent as they need to, play a little bit of game, get their mind just churning, and eventually transition off of whatever was on their shoulders. You know what? Just tell me how your day was. Let's play through the game. If somebody was not turning in their hours properly or throwing you under the bus for crap you didn't do, tell me about it. And there are quite a few days that either one of us needs to just vent. So just sit at the table, play Ticket to Ride. There's not much thought in our decision making. You got cards. Will your cards put out a route? No? Well, then you need to get more cards. That's your decision. Otherwise, let me know how your day is going. We'll go through that, and it really does help you get it off your shoulders and transition your mind to doing other things. So that's at least that's what it is for me.
Yeah, and I especially like the London version of. I've always wanted to go to London. I was like, ooh, Trafalgar Square, and the Queen's Palace, and so that's. I like the presentation of the games. The one for San Francisco comes with a little booklet. It looks like a tour guide, pamphlet. So I don't know. I think they did a really good job with the smaller version.
That's what I was going to ask, is because we bought the original, the New York, when it came out, and I was wondering, what's the benefit to having the other?
Each one's got a little bit of wrinkle for end of game scoring.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like New York, it's getting to certain routes and connecting them together. You get a little score pad to score it up. London there are routes in different colors. So if you get all the yellow regions connected, that's like 3 points. If you can get all the orange places connected, that's 4 points. If you can get all the blue connected, that's 3 points. San Francisco, you have little cardboard chits to put on there. It's stuff you've picked up on your trolley journeys.
Oh.
Yeah.
So like there's clothing here, there's movie tickets over here.
Set collection type idea.
Yeah, you're picking up tchotchkes as you're going around San Francisco. So the more you can collect in a set, the better points you can get. And then I think you can collect a multiple sets. Mm-hmm. But each has end-of-game scoring that's a little bit different.
Okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's our number 8 at Ticket to Ride. Guys, what game barely missed your top 7?
Kingdom Builder.
Yep.
Yeah, we love Kingdom Builder.
Kingdom Builder was one of those.
We played it at 2.
Oh, it works
we played
just
it
great.
all
Now,
on.
again, this is another one that we play a lot on BGA.
Yep.
Or the app. They work almost exactly the same. And they are identical ports from the game. So it's one of those that is finicky to set up. It's one of the more finicky games to set up, especially at multiplayers. But
we really enjoy playing it, and so that just takes that whole aspect out of it. And
yep.
and
But the
we
only
kind
problem,
of treat it like he was talking about treating Ticket to Ride.
absolutely.
Like, that's kind of our version of, we've played it so much, like we sit in the living room together. He's got his iPad, I got mine, and we're talking and having a drink and playing Kingdom Builder.
Yeah.
And that game has always been kind of maligned, I think, since I got into the hobby. It was new at the time.
It's Donald X. Vaccarino who hit so hard with Dominion.
Yep.
And this is actually the game he was trying to get published first.
And I would rather play this than Dominion any day.
Right. So when Rio Grande Games was looking at his games, he saw the prototype. He's like, what's this? And he's like, okay, this is just something I'm kind of messing with. You do this and that and the other. And he goes, finish that. That's what I want.
Yeah.
So once he got that published and it won Spiel des Jahres that year, then Queen picked up and by his name got Kingdom Builder. So when his name was slapped on another game, people were like, oh, it's the next Dominion. And it wasn't.
No.
It's a dry Euro where you're placing stuff on a board. And I think it plays extremely well, and I really like the game. I still haven't played the winter one where it's hexes instead of squares.
Yeah, that one I don't have either, because I have every freaking expansion for the original, and I'm like, I don't think we need any more. We don't need a whole new version of this game. But, and that is what makes it great when you have all those expansions. That's the only problem with playing on the app, is it's just bare bones. So you just have the base game, and there's still variation in that base game because you never know exactly what bonus tiles are coming out. But for the most part, it's going to play fairly similar. Whereas when you get some of the expansions with the different terrain types and stuff, that starts really differentiating the game. But it is very fiddly. There's tons of little chits to put out everywhere and little reminder things of what they do and all that, which is why we generally will play it digitally. But when we're playing it with multiplayer and I have time to set it up, it's one of my favorite games to get out because you don't play it all the time. But it's in that very much that Ticket to Ride vein. But to me, it's just much more interesting than Ticket to Ride because it really does, more so to me, it activates that part of your brain, that spatial reasoning, more so than Ticket to Ride. Ticket to Ride is just kind of like, like you said, it's like, do I have the cards I need to fulfill this particular route that I randomly got? No, well, then I just get more cards. Whereas in this way, you're always going to be putting down at least 3 things. And it's totally up to you which directions you go, I really like it. I think, and I've never really understood the hate for it, and there was a lot in our group. I remember people being like, "We love Dominion, we hate Kingdom Builder."
It's because they didn't get what they wanted.
Yeah, they just wanted another Dominion expansion, there's plenty of those. But the game has to have done well on its own, right? Because it's got like 10 expansions. So
Yeah.
and it's been going for 15 years. So
It's got 10 expansions,
Yeah.
but it still it doesn't have the sales of a Dominion. I think
No.
Dominion's close to 1 million or plus copies.
Wow.
Wow.
Whereas Kingdom Builder, I think, is at half.
yeah, but
And,
you're
I
talking.
mean, they're both sold really, really well, but to get 1 million sales on a board game,
Yeah.
That's huge.
it's huge.
Well,
I
it makes a
mean,
big difference production-wise. I can see why they wanted it when it's just cards.
Yeah.
Making that production cost is a lot less than producing a board and a bunch of wooden pieces and everything. For, the production cost of a Kingdom Builder has got to be significantly more than Dominion.
All right.
well, guys,
What's-
thanks for coming on.
Yes. Thanks for having us.
And
That's it.
they can find a little bit more information from you guys on your Instagram at NSFW,
NSFWP podcast.
Not Safe for Worker Placement Podcast.
Yes, it's all just the acronym. So NSFWP podcast on Instagram. That's really the only social media we do anymore, since the podcast is basically on indefinite hiatus or completely canceled. But it's still hosted, so you can go back and listen to we have 49 episodes. We didn't quite make it to 50. We recorded the 50th, and then it got corrupted, and then that was it. That's when I threw in the towel, and I said, no more. I'm not doing this. It took like a year in between doing that, and then it got screwed up. So I was like, all right, we are retired now. But we still do post a lot of pics on the games that we're playing and things. And
Absolutely.
that's really, if you want to touch base with us, do that, and come to Moon City Con
Yes.
Yeah.
and meet us all there.
Guys, thanks for coming on.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks.
We'll see you
having us.
next time. Goodbye.
Bye.
Welcome back to the best games in the 417 area. Before we get into the list, I'm going to let Ben and Leandra talk about one of the cool events going on in the month of February for 417 Gamers.
If you're looking for something to do on Valentine's Day, come join us at Galloway Station on Valentine's evening, February 14th, for some games. All are welcome. Singles, couples, thruples, whoever wants to come out and play. Leandra, what else will we be doing?
We'll have a selection of 2-player, 4-player, and party games, and we'll be giving away some cool stuff. Don't forget Galloway Station. It's at 1281 East Republic Road in Springfield.
There's no cover charge, but we encourage everyone to try some of the great food and drinks that Galloway Station provides. For more information, head over to the 417 Gamers Facebook page, and we'll see you there.
Last week, we had a 3-way tie at number 10, which we got to see 2 of them. Azul and Splendor. Starting this week, we get to find the 3rd game in that tie. And one is not quite like the others. But it's, Let's go ahead and look at number 10. Ark Nova. Designed by Matthias Wiggy, published by Forderland Spiel, and distributed in the U.S. by Capstone Games. Ark Nova was published in 2021. Here's an overview from the Capstone website. In Ark Nova, you will plan and design a modern, scientifically managed zoo. With the ultimate goal of owning the most successful zoological establishment, you will build enclosures, accommodate animals, and support conservation projects all over the world. Specialists and unique buildings will help you in achieving your goal. At the heart of Ark Nova are 255 cards featuring animals, specialists, unique enclosures, and conservation projects, each with a particular ability. Use them to increase the appeal and scientific reputation of your zoo and to collect conservation points. Each player has a set of action cards, which you will use and upgrade to carry out your plans. Each player has a set of 5 action cards to manage their gameplay, and the power of an action is determined by the slot the card currently occupies. The cards are Build. Allows you to build standard or special enclosure, kiosk, and pavilions. Animals. Allows you to accommodate animals in your zoo. Cards. Allows you to gain new zoo cards, which include the animal sponsors and conservation project cards. Association. Allows your association workers to carry out different tasks. And sponsors. Allows you to play a sponsor card in your zoo to raise money. With a lot of love for the theme, game designer Matthias Wiggy has created an interestingly interwoven game with high replayability and rich components, Ark Nova provides a remarkable gaming experience that will bring the game to the table again and again. Ark Nova appeared on 5 lists and gained 37 points. And I absolutely agree with that last part. It will bring itself to the table over and over. It scratches an itch at our house that, man, we look at it and want to play it a lot more than others. But do be forewarned, there is a little bit of a time commitment with this one. That was Ark Nova, the final game, tied at number 10. Number 9, Castles of Burgundy. Designed by Stefan Feld, published by Ravensburger, and it was originally published in 2011. In Castles of Burgundy, you are an influential prince in the 15th century France. You do everything in your power to make your lands flourish, from academic progress and city development to agriculture and trading. Many roads to prosperity are open to you. Choose your path wisely, make your decisions carefully, and lead your realm to fortune and prestige. Castles of Burgundy garnered 39 points on 6 lists. Number 8, Concordia. Designed by Matt Gertz, published by P.D. Verlag, and distributed in the United States by Rio Grande Games. Concordia originally came out in 2013. Concordia is a peaceful strategy game of economic development in Roman times for 2 to 5 players. Instead of luck or dice or cards, players must rely on their strategic abilities. Be sure to watch your rivals to determine which goals they are pursuing and where you can outpace them. 2,000 years ago, the Roman Empire ruled the lands around the Mediterranean Sea. With peace at the borders, harmony inside the provinces, uniform law, and a common currency, the economy thrived and gave rise to the mighty Roman dynasties as they expanded throughout numerous cities. Guide one of these dynasties and send colonists to remote realms of the empire, develop your trade network, and appease the ancient gods for their favor, all to gain the chance to emerge victorious. There are several expansions available for Concordia. Once you've mastered the base game, look for mini-maps and versions available everywhere games are sold. Concordia garnered 40 points on 6 lists, and it is my personal favorite game to play. That was Concordia at number 8. Number 7, Gloomhaven. Designed by Isaac Childress, published by Sealafair Games. Gloomhaven came out in 2017. Gloomhaven is a Euro-inspired tactical combat in an evolving campaign game. Players will take on the role of a wandering mercenary with their own special set of skills and their own reasons for traveling this remote corner of the world. Players must work together out of necessity to clear out menacing dungeons and forgotten ruins. In the process, they will enhance their abilities with experience and loot, discover new locations to explore and plunder, and expand an ever-branching story fueled by the decisions they make. This is a persistent game that is intended to be played over many game sessions. After a scenario, players will make decisions on what to do, which will determine how the story continues, kind of like a choose-your-own-adventure book. Playing through a scenario is a cooperative affair where players will fight against automated monsters using an innovative card system to determine the order of play and what a player does on their turn. Essentially, every turn, a player will play 2 cards out of their hand. Each card has a number in the center, and the number on the first card played will determine their initiative order. Each card also has a top and bottom power. And when it's a player's turn in the initiative order, they determine whether to use the top power for one card and the bottom power of the other, or vice versa. Players must be careful, though, because over time they will permanently lose cards from their hands. If they take too long to clear a dungeon, they may end up exhausted and be forced to retreat. I have written a comprehensive series of blog posts about the inception and development of Gloomhaven. If you're interested in knowing more about the game, please read it on. This was an excerpt from Sealafair Games. Gloomhaven was on 4 lists and garnered 42 points. The people that put Gloomhaven on their list put it up very, very high. Gloomhaven is a little bit of a money investment, but from all the reports in the game group, those that have invested the money and the time Love this game. That was Gloomhaven at number 7. Number 6, Lords of Waterdeep. Designed by Peter Lee and Rodney Thompson, published by Wizards of the Coast, Lords of Waterdeep came out in 2012. From the publisher's website, gold and double dealing flow freely in the City of Splendors. Waterdeep, the City of Splendors, the most resplendent jewel in the Forgotten Realms, and a den of political intrigue and shady back-alley dealings. In this game, players are powerful lords vying for control of this great city. Its treasures and resources are ripe for the taking, and that which cannot be gained through trickery and negotiation must be taken by force. Lords of Waterdeep is a strategy board game for 2 to 5 players. You take on the role of one of the masked lords of Waterdeep, secret rulers of the city. Through your agents, you recruit adventurers to go on quests on your behalf, earning rewards and increasing your influence over the city. Expand the city by purchasing new buildings that open up new actions on the board, and hinder or help the other lords by playing intrigue cards to enact your carefully laid plans. Lords of Waterdeep appeared on 5 lists and gained 43 points. Lords of Waterdeep is a staple in my collection, and I highly recommend picking up the Scoundrels of Skullport expansion. That was Lords of Waterdeep at number 6. Moon City Con would like to thank Genius Games. Genius Games makes science-based strategy card and board games that are designed with gamers in mind, but also based in real science. Each game is designed about a specific scientific concept within biology, chemistry, or physics, or a famous scientist or historical event. Genius Games is sending a couple copies of Genotype. Genotype is a Mendelian genetics game, a strategy board game about the science of genetics, Punnett squares, and Gregor Mendel's pea plants. Genotype is a worker placement game with some dice drafting and asymmetrical powers. It's roughly a 45 to 75 minute game, plays 1 to 4 players. It's an excellent strategy game, and we can't wait to see people playing it at Moon City Con. If you'd like to have a chance to walk away with a copy, get your tickets to Moon City Con at the standard level or better, and go to the Play-In-One section and check a copy out. We can't wait to see you at Moon City Con. Get your badges at mooncitycon.com. Welcome back to the best games in the 417 area. Before we get into the list, I'm going to let Ben and Leandra talk about one of the cool events going on in the month of February for 417 Gamers.
If you're looking for something to do on Valentine's Day, come join us at Galloway Station on Valentine's evening, February 14th, for some games. All are welcome. Singles, couples, thruples, whoever wants to come out and play. Leandra, what else will we be doing?
We'll have a selection of 2-player, 4-player, and party games, and we'll be giving away some cool stuff. Don't forget, Galloway Station. It's at 1281 East Republic Road in Springfield. There's
no cover charge, but we encourage everyone to try some of the great food and drinks that Galloway Station provides. For more information, head over to the 417 Gamers Facebook page, and we'll see you there.
Number 5. At the number 5 spot, we have Terraforming Mars. Designed by Jacob Frixilius, published by Frix Games, and distributed in the U.S. by Stronghold Games. Terraforming Mars originally came out in 2016. Here's a write-up from Frix Games. The taming of the Red Planet has begun. Corporations are competing to transform Mars into a habitable place by spending vast resources and using innovative technology to raise temperature, create a breathable atmosphere, and make oceans of water. As terraforming progresses, more and more people will immigrate from Earth to live on the Red Planet. In Terraforming Mars, you control a corporation with a certain profile. Play project cards, build up production, place your cities and green areas on the map, and race for milestones and awards. Will your corporation lead the way into humanity's new era? Terraforming Mars gained 49 points off of 6 lists of the 417 Gamers. Terraforming Mars has a number of expansions, and there's some argument in the 417 Gamers on which expansions is best. We all have some of our favorites. We also have some of our least favorites. I have played the fully expanded Terraforming Mars. I don't know that I actually recommend it, but it was interesting. I'll put it there. But that's Terraforming Mars at number 5. Number 4. At the number 4 spot, we have Seven Wonders, designed by Antoine Balza, published by Repos Productions and Asmodee Games. Seven Wonders came out in 2010. Here's a write-up from Asmodee and Repos. Seven Wonders, the most awarded game in the world. With close to 2 million copies sold across the world and more than 30 international awards, Seven Wonders is a must-have in modern board gaming. In only 30 minutes, you'll build an ancient city from its first stone to its highest tower. You are the leader of one of the 7 greatest cities in antiquity. Develop your city by increasing your scientific discoveries, military conquests, commercial agreements, and prestigious structures to lead your civilization to glory. All the while, keep an eye on your neighbors' progress since they share similar ambitions. Will your wonder transcend the millennia to come? Develop your city by constructing buildings. Each building lets you improve one of your city's 4 paths of development: military, science, commercial, and civil. Civilization was born from evolution. A game of Seven Wonders plays over 3 rounds called Ages, during which you will choose cards with increasingly powerful effects. Each card you choose will influence your general strategy. The new edition of Seven Wonders also is now suitable for colorblind players. To assist every type of color blindness, each color used in the game also has a corresponding symbol. A game where all players play together, there's no downtime where you're playing with 3 or even 7 players. And Seven Wonders is full of wonder cards in large format with amazing illustrations. Seven Wonders appeared on 7 lists and garnered 51 points in the 417Gamers, and I do really believe that Seven Wonders is a great game to have in your arsenal. That's Seven Wonders at number 4. Number 3. At number 3 is Viticulture, designed by Jamie Stegmaier and published by Stonemaier Games, published in 2013. Here's the flavor from Stonemaier's website. In Viticulture, you'll find yourself in rustic, pre-modern Tuscany, where you've inherited a meager vineyard. You own a few plots of land, an old crush pad, a tiny cellar, 3 workers, and the dream of owning the best winery in Italy. Your job is to allocate your workers and helpful visitors to complete various tasks throughout the year. Each season is different on a vineyard, so the workers have different tasks that they can take care of in the summer and winter. There's competition over those tasks, and often the first worker to arrive at each one has an advantage over the rest. Using those workers and visitors, you can expand your vineyard by building structures, planting vines, and fulfilling wine orders as you work towards the goal of owning the most successful winery in Tuscany. Viticulture garnered 59 points off of 9 lists in the 417Gamers, and I firmly believe that this is up here because of the Tuscany expansion. Viticulture plays over 2 seasons in the Viticulture Essentials Edition, but once you get the Tuscany expansion, it plays 4 seasons. This pops out quite regularly, and in fact, I will probably, as of this recording, bring it out this Thursday. But that's Viticulture at number 3. 2. At number 2, we have Magic the Gathering, designed by Richard Garfield, published by Wizards of the Coast. Magic the Gathering originally came out in 1993. From Wikipedia, Magic the Gathering, colloquially known as Magic or MTG, is a tabletop and digital collectible card game created by Richard Garfield. Magic was the first trading card game and had approximately 35 million players as of December 2018. And over 20 billion Magic cards were produced from the period of 2008 through 2016, during which the game grew in popularity. A player in Magic takes the role of a planeswalker, a powerful wizard who can travel, or walk, between dimensions, planes, of the multiverse, doing battle with other players as planeswalkers by casting spells, using artifacts, and summoning creatures as depicted on individual cards drawn from their individual decks. A player defeats their opponent typically by casting spells and attacking with creatures to deal damage to the opponent's life total, with the objective being to reduce it from 20 to 0. Although the original concept of the game drew heavily from the motifs of traditional fantasy role-playing games such as Dungeons & Dragons, the gameplay bears little similarity to the pencil and paper games, while simultaneously having substantially more cards and more complex rules than many other card games. Magic can be played by 2 or more players, either in person, with printed cards, or on a computer, smartphone, or tablet with virtual cards through the internet-based software. It can be played in various rule formats, which fall into 2 categories, constructed and limited. Limited formats involve players building a deck spontaneously out of a pool of random cards with a minimum deck of 40 cards. And in constructed formats, players create decks from cards they own, usually with a minimum of 60 cards per deck. Magic the Gathering garnered 64 points off of 6 lists in the 417 Gamers. If you're interested in Magic the Gathering, go talk to your friendly local game store. This has kept many game stores in business since its inception. Rarely do you see a game store that doesn't feature at least a Magic night of some sorts. See what they're doing and ask them for the different formats, and they might show you the ropes. This is Magic the Gathering at number 2. At the number 1 spot, crowned the best game in the 417 is Scythe. Designed by Jamie Stegmaier, published by Stonemaier Games, Scythe dropped in 2016 from the Stonemaier website. In Scythe, each player represents a fallen leader attempting to restore their honor and lead their faction to power in Eastern Europa. Players conquer territory, enlist new recruits, reap resources, gain villagers, build structures, and activate powerful mechs. Scythe uses a streamlined action selection mechanism to keep gameplay moving at a brisk pace and reduce downtime between turns. While there is plenty of direct conflict, there is no player elimination, nor can units be killed or destroyed. Every part of Scythe has an aspect of engine building to it. Players can upgrade actions to become more efficient, build structures that improve their position on the map, enlist new recruits to enhance character abilities, deploy mechs to deter opponents from invading, and expand their borders to reap greater types of quantities of resources. These engine-building aspects create a sense of momentum and progress throughout the game. The order in which players move their engines adds to the unique feel of each game, even when playing one faction multiple times. Scythe, after completing the 3 expansion story arc and wrapping up with accessories, is complete with the legendary box, the modular board, and the complete rulebook. While Scythe will continue to reprint and support old Scythians alike, the Scythe game is complete and will not be further extended. It is possible that they might revisit Jakub Brzezowski's 1920 world someday, and a new game is on the horizon if you've followed the Stonemaier website. Scythe gets played regularly, about every couple weeks in the 417 Gamers. This was the only game to appear on double-digit lists. Scythe appeared on 11 lists, garnered 84 points. It is, and for a little while I don't see anything toppling it as the best game in the 417. The 417 Gamer podcast is recorded and produced by Rick Bagwell and Andrea Smith. We want to thank Ben and Leandra for coming on, and they are organizing Moon City Con, which we all encourage you to get badges, and we'll play games with you there, and do tournaments, and all the good stuff. The show notes can be found over on our Facebook page at Hobby Gaming Network, or we post these on the 417 Gamer YouTube channel, and the notes can be found there. The intro music, Kind, Gentle, Beautiful Person, and the outro music, Making Up for Lost Time, was created by Origami Replica. For more from him, you can find stuff in our show notes. But until then, keep gaming in the 417.